Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Thrive, Not Just Survive. Today, we're going to be talking about fear. We are actually going to be addressing two types of fear, and then Sharon's going to walk us through how to overcome fear, because I think for a lot of people, they may know that they have fears, but they don't really know how to get past it. Because really, when you really look at and research this whole notion of fear, it is an illusion. It really is a state of mind that people are in, and it's things that perhaps you've experienced. Could be trauma, it could be things that have happened where you were unsure and a doubt set in, or you actually were at the edge of a cliff and you experienced fear because somebody may have jolted you and you had this kind of oh my gosh kind of feeling, and then it set in as trauma. And then if you haven't dealt with it, it can become something that can be debilitating. People have fears of heights. People have fears of animals, fear of flying. I mean, there's so many types of fear. So today we thought, let's discuss this because fear actually stops us from doing the things that we really want to do. And if we can get past it, we can reach our potential of really being who we are, who we need to be, who we want to be, and create a world where we can lead from excitement and exhilaration. So let's get this topic started on how to overcome fear. I'm going to get my guest on our screen here so we can start. Hey, Sharon, thanks for joining in today.
It's good to see you again. Another Thursday has arrived.
Thank you. Thank you. I love Thursdays because we talk about things that are really true to people, and we give out strategies that can really shift people from whatever's limiting them, right? So this topic on fear is really interesting because there's been so many studies done on how to overcome fear. But first, I want to talk to you about what are the types of fears. I know you had mentioned there's two particular types.
Okay. So there's two types. The two names actually came originally from the Hebrew Bible, and they're difficult to pronounce. So what I call them is the first fear is the boogeyman fear. And that's the fear of, the imagined fear. That's the one that sort of really frightens you, but there's no real basis for. And then there's what I call the adventure fear. And that's when you're going to do something new and you get those butterflies in your stomach and you're so excited, but you're so scared. And sometimes you block those because the fears feel very similar in the body. And it's determining which one is your adventure and to move forward and which one is your imagination and at that point, figure out, which way you want to go with them.
Right. So it's almost like the fight or flight, right? Like that kind of reaction, because the fear can create that, right?
It does. It creates it in both types. It's the same reaction. It's the fight or flight. And if we let fear get to us, it stops us from doing all the things we want to do. And it makes our imagination keep us where we are. And so let's sort of work on how we can make those changes. Because
let's talk about how to overcome them, because they could be varying degrees of fear, right? Some of them can be debilitating fear.
Sorry.
That's okay. Some can be a debilitating fear, and other fears can just mean that we're not debilitated from it, but we're just not going to take that step that we need to take.
That's true. And so what I like to do is I like to talk about how we can take those steps, like how we can stop. One of the things I recommend that I recommended in a previous video was what I call stop, drop and roll. And basically it's like you stop, you think, okay, this fear, okay, what is this fear of? Maybe it's a fear of being on stage, right? It's a fear for public speaking is a huge fear. So you think, what can happen, right? And you just analyze what can happen. And most people end up realizing it's not such a big deal. Or another one is, when your children are young and they're afraid in the dark, what do? You pick them up and you walk them around and you show them there's nothing there, right?
Right.
And then they go to sleep and they're fine.
Right. So it is that, so your mind actually shows you things like where you're afraid of things that don't even exist, but you've made it up so large in your mind that now it becomes where in your mind it's very, very real. And so I know that I was reading a study and it was like being exposed to it, like you said, walk into that dark room, right, with your child and show them there's nothing there. So it's the same thing, walk into the fear and just sort of reconfirm to your brain that, you know, it's an imagination, it's an imaginary fear that's holding us back, but it does take time. So can you go further into like what other steps people can take in terms of overcoming fear?
Okay, so one of the first things is recognizing what kind of fear it is. And it's determining, one of the ways to determine is ask questions of the fear. Because when you start asking questions, you can determine whether or not this is imagined or this is excitement, right? And then when it's an imagined fear, you start to, things can escalate. It's harder to bring things down. So there's different ways that you can do it. The stop, drop, and roll, which is very, very effective for so many things. So you stop and you think, okay, what is this fear? What is bringing this fear on? And then you ask yourself, what are the questions for me to ask to find out if this fear is real? And then automatically, your unconscious mind always brings forth the questions and the answers at the same time. And it will very often calm you down. And that's really good, especially if you're going into a situation where you're not going to have a lot of time, because that happens in a matter of less than a minute,
right?
That process, which is always sort of a great process I use it all the time. Even when I want to talk to someone and I don't know.
Well, I guess, I mean, this is the thing though, when you're saying these, for people who haven't practiced it, may seem like, oh my gosh, like, you know, it's complicated because you haven't done it, but it's like working up a muscle, right? It's as you do it, you practice it. And initially it may feel awkward. Like it may feel really not something you're really confident with, but as you start doing it and you become more comfortable and you start seeing the benefits of it, then it becomes like you, where you're just constantly doing it. If there's anything that comes up, you kind of follow that routine
exactly.
of stop, drop, and roll. So, and then I know we talked about a few other ones that are really helpful for those that are really suffering from fear.
There's one about inviting love in, because when you invite love in, there's no room for fear.
So what do you mean by inviting love in?
It's sort of an interesting concept. It's like the fear is there, and you think, I'm going to feel the love, and I'm going to help. I'm going to ask for help to shift this from fear to love.
Okay.
And when you ask for help, of course, the universe or your God, whoever you speak to, will automatically be there for you. And they will help you to shift.
Yeah. Awareness, right? So it's basically just being aware of it, bringing in to that whole notion of, I'm just going to ask for help because I need to shift it from fear to love. Mm-hmm. And that's beautiful. I think that's anyone can do that. And it doesn't take a long time, but you can feel your energy shift the minute even the word love comes up. The energy shifts.
The energy shifts, exactly. And love is such a wonderful thing to replace it with, because it makes you feel good inside.
Right.
Another thing is get curious about it, which is like ask questions. Because once you're curious about something, then it becomes like almost like a research project, right? It's like, okay, what's going on here?
Right. Right.
And the fear goes away. And you also figure out where the fear is coming from. So you can probably, if that comes back again in the future, you can go, oh, well, I'm not worried about this.
Right. Right. You know, one of the sayings that I really resonate with, it says, feel the fear and do it anyway. It's almost saying that face fear in like right in the eyes, because as soon as you do, it almost disintegrates, because right? Like it just kind of goes away from you, because now you're saying, I'm going to go for it anyways. And it gives you that confidence. So I really think that for a lot of people, the imaginary fears are so prevalent that if you just face it and say, well, what's the worst that could happen? I'm just going to go through it. You almost find that you realize that it was so unreasonable that it was even there, right? Because you got through it.
It's interesting. I grew up with brothers, so I never told them what I was afraid of. I learned to face it and move through it very young, because when you have 4 brothers, they will take advantage of that. So all of you out there that have siblings, help each other.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And these are, again, like we're talking from now being adults, but some of these fears were instilled in us when we were younger, and they can be really, some of them are unfounded, right? Like you when you really ask questions, you begin to see that there's no basis for them.
Yeah, there isn't. And so for a majority of our fears, there's very little basis for them.
Yeah.
Now, there is the occasional time, although we're not being chased by, tigers, and we live in a wonderful country where there's not a lot of crime, so we're pretty lucky.
Yeah. I know, I think there's a couple more, because I'm going to tell you one that I do.
Yeah, there are a few more. Yeah. But let me hear what you have to say.
So I basically, I go towards the frequency of gratitude. So as soon as I start writing things that I'm really, really grateful for and things that I have accomplished, then it brings my vibration up, where the fear dissipates, or the feeling of fear dissipates.
The feeling does.
So I use the gratitude journal even for that. Like I'll just start, if I'm feeling really frazzled, I'll just start writing things I'm very, very grateful for, things that I have accomplished and things that I've overcome, even if things in the past have been fearful. So for me, I'll tell you one was dogs. It didn't matter what size, it didn't matter anything. And I don't know where it stems from, but I grew up with just thinking I was afraid of dogs. And when I became a real estate agent, I had to go into homes where sometimes there would be dogs there, right? And as soon as I got into the home, even though my heart was racing, I was just saying to myself, that the owner is there, or they are on a leash, or whatever it is. And as soon as I met the dog and I began to start interacting with them, the fear went away. And now I actually own a dog. Which I never thought in a million years I would ever do, because my fear was so large. So it's really interesting that when you do face it, you're almost at the other side saying, I don't even understand why I was so afraid, because now I'm actually, like, I love dogs, any kind, no matter what the size is. I just love them, right? So again, it's just going past that boundary where you set up for yourself.
And that's true, whether it's gratitude journal or whether you're just straight journaling, it'll help get things out. And right. It'll also help you be grateful. Because there's so much to be grateful for.
Exactly. Always. And I think that's just the key for any kind of daily routine. If you just have gratitude in your routine of some sort, you just find the energy shifts when you do that. And I think that for people that really practice it every single day, they notice the difference from when they didn't do it.
Oh, yes, definitely. There's a difference in your personality, the way you view the world, the way you see other people. It's very different.
Yeah.
So gratitude journals are wonderful. And I have one. Actually, I don't have a journal. I have a jar, because I'm a visual person. I want to be able to see it. So I have this huge, beautiful jar, and I write my gratitudes on a piece of paper and I put them in the jar. And then every once in a while, when I'm not feeling great, I will dump them out and I'll start reading them. So
it's another creative way, right? Like whatever works for you. And it's just nice that it's there. It's sort of like this treasure chest that you keep. And when you need it, it's like you go draw from it, because you've deposited stuff in there that's very powerful. So I think that's a great way, if for those who don't really, either they don't want to get into a book situation, or they want to create something that they can feel that they can go to when they need it.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
And I'm looking at it. Oh, the other thing is shift your states. So if you're afraid, go dancing. Turn the radio on, go dancing. Read a book, but shift your state, because when you shift it, and you're doing something that you enjoy doing, then that'll change it. And sing a song. You're walking down the street, you're going to a meeting, and you're really worried about the meeting. Sing your favorite song.
Right.
Do a little jig.
Right. And again, that's part of changing your vibration. So
That is.
if you're in a low vibration of fear, where you're
Mhm.
like really frantic, if you just switch it where your mind focuses on something else, you automatically change that energy of wherever
Exactly.
you are, that vibration. So that's a really key thing to do, not just with fear, but even
Mhm.
just things that where you're not feeling great, or you're having a conversation with a friend and it's going to be a discussion and you're feeling not so great about that part, because you don't like confrontations or whatever it is. Just shift the state quickly so that your vibration goes up and you start feeling better, because then what comes out of your mouth or how you react body language wise changes. Everything changes.
Everything changes. Exactly. And it's very easy to do. We think of it as being difficult, except it is easy to do. And once we get ourselves out of the fear state, then the whole world opens up to us.
Right. And we can think more clearly. I think clarity comes when we're not fogged with all of these illusions, right? Like as I started the program today, it was, talking about fear being an illusion. So once we take away these illusions, we become more clear, and it just seems so much easier to go with the flow then, rather than the resistances that show up when we're bombarded with things that aren't even true.
Yes, exactly. And it stops us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I have this thing that I say to myself when things are kind of like, I need to sort of pull myself down. And I just say to myself, feeling excited and relaxed. And it's really an acronym for fear. Because if I say it and I listen to it in my heart, it will help me to calm down. And a friend of mine gave it to me a number of years ago, and I couldn't get over how much it helped me. And then I learned about EFT tapping, which is a type of tapping where you can help alleviate just about anything that's bothering you. Like you are also a tapper. You also do some
Yes.
tapping.
Yes.
And tell me what you have used it for.
For so many different things. Like if I'm just feeling low, if I have a headache, if I am going into a meeting and I just want to boost my confidence. I've used it for so many different things that, it just becomes where if I'm just not right, or if I just don't know what else to do, I'll just tap.
Exactly. And actually, and you can do it anywhere. It's very easy. I do it in the car a lot when I'm driving. So I'd like to show people how to do a little bit of tapping for fear.
Before you do that, let's just explain what tapping is. It's basically you're tapping on meridians, right?
Meridians,
On our meridians, right?
On meridians, which
Right.
basically, like, they're similar to acupuncture points. Think of it that way.
Right. And so there's a certain steps or a certain system, right, that we go through in terms of the tapping methodology, and we basically just repeat. Usually what I do is I have a number for what I'm feeling. So let's say I'm really feeling like it's like really bad and it's like an 8. And then I'll do tapping, and then I'll check myself to say, well, how do I feel now? And as long as I can see that, oh yes, now I feel better, I'm at a 5 or 3, whatever, as long as that tension is releasing, I know that tapping is working, and I'll continue doing it until I feel very, very good about it. So let's walk, like you can walk us through it.
I'll walk you through the tapping points, and then we can do a demonstration. Okay.
Yeah, and then maybe for those of people that are watching, maybe you can pick a fear that you are working on, or that you'd really like to kind of see where you stand. Maybe follow along and do the tapping for that particular fear. So let's first go through the process.
Okay. Actually, I was thinking, if there's one of the audience, if they have a particular fear they would like us to work on, we can start on that.
Absolutely. So if you're watching and you want us to work on something, just put it in the chat box of what that fear might be, and then we'll walk you through that one. So go ahead and go do the process, and I'll watch the chat.
So first we start by tapping. It's on the karate chop, and you're going to tap here, and we're going to repeat a phrase 3 times. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tap here, which is like where the eyebrow ends. You're going to tap here, and then under the eye, under the nose, under the chin, in the chest, under the armpit, and it's right where the bra strap, where the bra starts, and then on top of the head. Okay.
And then can I just ask you, so do you do it on one side? Can you do it on both? Like
You
when
can
you're
do it on one side, or you can do it on both.
Okay.
It's about your preference, right?
Okay.
And we're not tapping hard, like it's just gentle taps, right?
Right.
You're not
pounding on it. You're not.
It's just very it's just very gentle.
Gentle. And then you basically repeat this process.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't have any comments on the chat box of anybody that wants to work on something. So let's talk about, since we're dealing with COVID, I think the fear of perhaps getting ill.
That's a good one.
Since people are at home and kind of doing things to not get sick, let's do that.
All right. That's actually an excellent idea. So then what you're going to do is start tapping here on the karate chop, and you're going to say, even though I feel this fear around COVID-19, I completely love and accept myself. Even though I feel this fear around COVID-19, I completely love and accept myself. Even though I feel this fear around COVID-19, I completely love and accept myself. And then you tap up here and you allow the fear to come out. Like, I am terrified of getting sick. And then you're going to tap on the side of the eyebrow and you're going to say, I am so afraid of being sick. You can tap, what happens to me, happens to my family if I get sick and I can't help them? And then you can have it, what if I get really sick and I don't get better? What if I'm one of the ones that die? I'm terrified to even go out my door. Every time I turn the news on, I get more scared. I don't know what to do. And then under here. Oh, this is just wrecking my whole life. I don't know what, I'm paralyzed with fear. You can tap on the top of your head. Take a nice deep breath and think, oh, this is really changing my whole life, is upside down. And then, I have a right to be afraid. This is a pretty scary stuff. So now we're changing, and you'll notice that you change, the feeling will start to change once you get the feelings of fear out. And you'll start to think, well, I have a right to be afraid. This is a pretty serious thing. And I have a right to worry about my family. And it's okay. It's okay to do this. And you just tap and you think, wow, I can follow all the recommendations. What are the recommendations again? Oh yeah, stay 6 feet apart, wash your hands frequently, wear a mask when you're not able to social distance, clean everything really well. Wow, I haven't had such a clean house in years. It's so nice to have such a clean house. And now I have all this time to organize everything and put everything exactly the way I want. And there's so much family time. Oh, I'm so thrilled with the amount of time the kids and I are getting together. And we're learning how to work together and deal with our arguments, because there's always some of those. As long as I take all the precautions, there's a really good chance I'm just going to be fine. Maybe I should think about learning something new while I'm home. Or doing that project that I've been thinking about doing for like 10 years and I keep putting it off. Take a nice deep breath. And again. And ask yourself now, you put a number, a high number beforehand, probably about a 9, 8 or 9, and ask yourself what the number is now. If it's 4 or below, you know that it's just going to dissipate for you.
So it's funny how, as you're going through it, the first statement actually was raising the fear, like not raising the fear, but the anxiety of it, right? Like
Anxiety, yeah.
you're repeating it to yourself, saying, I'm so afraid. What if I die? Da, 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 right? But then as you shift the language and you do it, then you can actually energetically, you can actually feel it coming down,
Exactly.
like physically. It's a really interesting way to see that whole process from high to low.
It is. It is. And so when you're finished, if you're above 4, I would suggest you keep doing. They say to do 3 rounds. For some people, 2 rounds are fine. It depends on if it's just a little thing. If it's a really stressful thing, you might need more.
Right. And you basically go on your own thermostat, like basically just figure out how that makes you feel. If you're still needing it, just keep doing it. And if you feel really good, then, that's okay. And you may need to come back to it, or you may not. And again, this is where I think we all become very in tune to what feels right for us, because what may work for you could not work for me necessarily. So just finding that balance and kind of figuring it out, of who we are, and those trigger points for us, and how do we fix it, that really resonates. And I think this is a really interesting one for tapping, because I've heard people say that, it works really easily and quickly for some, and then for some it takes time.
It takes time. And we're all individual. We all resonate a certain way, and things are deeper for others. Sometimes things are so ingrained and so deep, like your fear of dogs.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it might take a little longer to tap. However, it works for everyone. In saying that, not everyone wants to do it. And that's the reason why the other techniques are so helpful as well.
Exactly. So again, finding what works for you is the key. Really, this is not about one shoe fits all or one size fits all. It's about finding what works for you and then getting into the routine of doing it. Because as you build the muscle, then you begin to kind of bring it into your cellular memory, and it doesn't become so like, I don't know if this is going to work. This is going to take too long. All of those other doubts start creeping in. But if you practice it and see the benefits of it, then it becomes just part of your normal routine, like you do, right? Like you just, if you need it, you just know, I'm just going to pull in tapping, or I'm going to go to the gratitude journal or the gratitude bottle, or whatever it is for us that works. For me, music really works. So I'll just put on music really loud. But this is the key about being home now with COVID, is really understanding what works for us. We all go through stress in degrees, and this is it. This is our time to figure it out and come out of this with some really good techniques that work for us.
It is a great time. It's a great time to discover who we are and what we want in life. Yeah. And I'm hopefully that our program is giving you the tools so that you can do just that.
Exactly. And I think as we approach these topics, I mean, everybody goes through different things. They take from it what really resonates. And so I just want to encourage people, if you want to befriend Sharon, you can just go to her profile at Sharon Fillmore, befriend her there, ask questions, get engaged, really start taking your life in your hands and create what you want to create. Talk to the people that can guide you. We all need mentors, and we all need people. Our communities are really important. And this is what I think during COVID-19 has really come to light, that we can support each other even though we're physically not able to see each other or connect, right? There's still ways of helping people in your circles, and reach out to us if you need our help. So Sharon, I just want to thank you. I know next week we're going to have another great topic, again, more techniques for people, for them to follow. And I just want to thank you and wish you a wonderful weekend. You're so awesome. You're always bringing in these amazing things for people to learn from.
Oh, thank you very much. I love being here, and I love helping your audience. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Sharon. I will see you next Thursday.
Yes.
Ciao. So I hope that helped you. And if you've never heard of tapping or EFT, Nick Ortner is the man, I think, behind the creation of it, or the knowledge that he brought forward for the people at large. Look it up on YouTube. You can get a lot of different people that are using it and learn about it, and figure out if that's something that you want to start with your in your routine for stress management and fear in particular. So today, I hope this this session helped you. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me or to Sharon at any time. We're more than willing to help. So you can private message us if that's something that you want to talk to us about. Tomorrow I have Dr. Cheryl on, and so this is our normal Friday Doctors in the House. If you have any questions for us, please have them ready. I'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Be kind to yourself and to others. I wish you a wonderful and blessed Thursday.